Senator Marsha Blackburn says Democrat proposed spending plans would bankrupt America. In an interview Sunday, the Tennessee senator said Biden's agenda should really be called Build Back Broke because it would spend more money than the U.S. could afford. Blackburn added, Democrats are trying to institutionalize socialism in the country. This comes as a Democrat-led $3.5 trillion spending package is faltering in Congress amid opposition by moderate party members.
They want government control of health care. They want to demoralize the military, close the churches, destroy your faith in the American system, and then here they're going to come with the socialist program to run your life from cradle to grave, daylight to dark.
The senator says Americans must oppose Biden's agenda to save prosperity and constitutional freedoms. The latest Facebook whistleblower claims the tech giant was lying to investors about its safety standards. Here's more.
Facebook has demonstrated they cannot act independently. Facebook over and over again has shown it chooses profit over safety.
A Facebook whistleblower blames the company for prioritizing profit over ensuring public safety. In an interview Sunday, former Facebook misinformation manager Frances Haugen said the company has repeatedly violated safety standards to maximize its profits. She said Facebook took action on less than 5% of cases of hate speech and violence, while telling investors it's seriously battling those risks. Haugen claims to have filed 8 complaints with the SEC over Facebook's lies. She adds she has tens of thousands of pages of documents to prove her case.
The thing I saw at Facebook over and over again was there were conflicts of interest between what was good for the public and what was good for Facebook. And Facebook over and over again chose to optimize for its own interests, like making more money. I've seen a bunch of social networks, and it was substantially worse at Facebook than anything I'd seen before.
Moreover, she said the root of the company's problem is in a change it made in 2018 to the site's algorithm, designed to show users content they are most likely to engage with.
And one of the consequences of how Facebook is picking out that content today is it is optimizing for content that gets engagement or reaction. But its own research is showing that content that is hateful, that is divisive, that is polarizing, it's easier to inspire people to anger than it is to other emotions.
Haugen said misinformation and hateful content is what keeps people engaged and the company booming. Adding, although Facebook recognizes that if it were to switch up and secure its content displayed, they would lose profit.
Facebook makes more money when you consume more content. People enjoy engaging with things that elicit an emotional reaction. And the more anger that they get exposed to, the more they interact and more they consume. Facebook has realized that if they change the algorithm to be safer, people will spend less time on the site, they'll click on less ads, they'll make less money.
However, Facebook is defending its safety policies, saying its job is to, quote, mitigate the bad and amplify the good. Haugen is set to testify before the Senate Commerce Subcommittee on Consumer Protection Tuesday.
The Supreme Court is set to begin its new term with a number of highly anticipated cases on the docket. Justices will return to the courtroom today, marking its first in-person argument since March of 2020. However, Justice Brett Kavanaugh will be appearing remotely after testing positive for COVID-19 last week. One notable case gaining attention includes a challenge to a Mississippi law which bans almost all abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy. The High Court will also hear arguments surrounding concealed carry, religious liberty, and the death penalty, among others. Still to come on One American News, Florida authorities find the body of a missing teen, how the family is responding to the news. Plus, cleanup efforts continue following an oil leak off the coast of California, what authorities are now saying. Next.
The Michigan Conservative Union congressional candidate Tom Norton going to be checking in with us. Also, we have some very interesting clips that we have prepared. My thoughts on the comments on the topics of the day I will share with you. But let's get started with a great project we launched last year. It's called Project Keep the Republic. Inspired by the end of the Constitutional Convention when Benjamin Franklin was asked, what kind of government have you given us? He replied, Madam, a republic if you can keep it. How do you keep it? Real tangible action, adopting the warrior ethos, placing the mission first, never accepting defeat, never quitting. We're organizing groups across the country based on the days of the week. Morning Prayers Monday, Release a Kraken Tuesday, Sheepdog Wednesday, Tech Triumph Thursday, and Fraud Busters Friday. So today's group, Morning Prayers Monday, are creating Keep the Republic prayer warrior groups. See, God answers those who gather to pray His perfect will be done. We're praying to protect our country, our states, our elected officials, our families, our friends, and of course, our faith and religious liberty, and our precious freedom. So, how are we doing it? Well, we're starting small. 2 or more people you can start a group with, and you can create it from your friends, family, neighbors, classmates, co-workers, a lot of different ways you can put it together. Start small, grow big. As you do it, send me your photos and videos at jeff@wgso.com. We'll share them with the audience. Include a short description of your group, the action depicted. Hey, if you want a copy of our plan, just email me at jeff@wgso.com, or you can check out the website of this program, mylastname.net, crewair.net. Also, we'll have a detailed Sheepdog organizational plan there. My petition to demand the immediate resignation of Rhino Senator Bill Cassidy. I'd love for you to sign that. New video, I'd love for you to watch, subscribe, and share. My note from President Trump you might find interesting, and information about my book, America's Last Chance. Working on a sequel, by the way, to that. All right, each and every day we ask our great audience members to send us their nominations for Crazy Mask Photo of the Day, lampooning, making fun of this nonsense, these mask mandates. And of course, we want to thank our friend for sending today's winner in. This is from Sharon, has a friend who has a sense of humor. Her terrier is willing to wear a mask but refuses to social distance and loves to cuddle. So, Sharon, thanks for this mask photo of the day, our winner in today's contest. If you have one you'd like to submit to us, send it to me at jeff@wgso.com. That's jeff@wgso.com. So the leftists are up to their usual tricks, stalking, harassing the moderate senators, Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema, harassing them in elevators, harassing them in bathroom stalls, harassing them outside their houses in D.C. Sinema was stalked and harassed as they followed her into a restroom. These people are nuts. They did the same thing with Jeff Flake, harassing him as he was going into an elevator during the Kavanaugh hearing. They do this. They try to intimidate and bully. They've been harassing conservatives and Republicans up in D.C. For years. They go to their houses. They go to people in the media who are conservative. These folks believe that they're somehow above the law, that they can break the law and harass and get away with it. And this has got to end. So I hope these moderate senators stand firm. They're the only thing standing between our country and tragedy, this $5 trillion just boondoggle debacle, this spending frenzy, which of course will destroy the dollar, ramp up inflation to dangerous heights, make the debt impossible to ever get a handle on, and saddle future generations with a burden that is just unacceptable. Hey, what do you say? Do you want to comment on this or all these other topics? We'd love to hear from you. There's an easy way for you to participate. All you have to do is pick up the phone, give us a call, 504-556-9696. That is your ticket into the program where you can sound off on any topic you want. It's an open line, so please take advantage of that opportunity, and we'll open up our phone lines in a little bit. Also, you've got this Lieutenant Colonel Scheller. Now, I don't know if you heard about this guy. We talked about him last week. He criticized the mission in Afghanistan and was sent to the brig. A lot of Trump supporters are out there raising money for this guy, and they've the MAGA world has raised more than $2 million to help with his legal costs. Well, he publicly denounced the former president, Donald Trump, and his son, Donald Trump Jr., saying he would rather sit in jail than accept their support. Wow, that was a pretty strong slap in the face of people that have been helping him out and raising money for him. He publicly criticized the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan, demanding accountability from senior leadership. After his post went viral, he was fired after 17 years of service. the only person to really suffer any penalties for this debacle in Afghanistan, because Milley certainly isn't. I mean, all these other military leaders are not in any way resigning. So he was placed in a military jail as he awaits preliminary hearing. Then there was a foundation that did a fundraiser, raised all this money, and the foundation is run by former Navy SEAL Eddie Gallagher, who was granted clemency by President Trump. Prior to the arrest, Scheller put a lengthy post on Facebook where he criticized General Michael Flynn, former President Trump, and criticized all these other former presidents, including Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, and George W. Bush. He said to President Trump, "I hate how you divided the country. I don't need or want your help. You don't have the ability to pull the USA together. You may even win the next election, but your generation's time is running out. Tell your son to stop tweeting about me. Your whole family knows nothing about the U.S. or our sacrifices. I could never work with you. I'd rather sit in jail and be released with the dishonorable than make compromises in my beliefs." Wow. Talk about ungrateful. Guy who had been getting support from the president and all of his supporters, criticizing the former president in that way. So then he later tweeted, "No, President Trump didn't divide the country, but President Trump, in my humble opinion, is incapable of bringing it back together." So he backpedaled a little bit on his criticism, but the damage was done. This guy's already broken the bond he had with a lot of people that supported President Trump. Pretty sad. What do you say? 504-556-9696. Then, of course, you got Dr. Phony Fauci. You can check out my latest column at townhall.com. That's townhall.com. The title is "The Grinch Who Stole Freedom." And, of course, Fauci's all over the airwaves over the weekend, talking about how we can't have Christmas. We've got to put aside our liberty, worry about the collective, worry about the good of the whole society, making other incendiary comments about individual liberty, about our freedoms, about the need to get the vaccine, of course. This guy has been a disaster from day one. The highest paid official in the federal government. He is someone who has been disastrous and dangerous from the start. He's been in office for 37 years. It's outrageous that he's still there. He's over 80 years old. Makes $434,000 a year. Who knows how much on the side. And this guy's telling us what freedoms we can enjoy and what we can't. Time for this guy to leave the scene. Time for us to start ignoring this guy. He's a fraud. He's a phony. He's also a left-wing hack. What do you say about Dr. Phony Fauci? All the other issues on the table. Come join us, 504-556-9696. Ringside rolls on. First, a brief time out. We'll be right back.
PAC 2022. Want to get some thoughts from you on that.
Well, this is going to be the moment of truth, particularly for the new justices, Justice Barrett, Justice Kavanaugh, who, of course, will start the term out participating remotely. But are they going to be part of a 5-4 or 6-3, in some cases, conservative process of changing big decisions, maybe even some big precedents, and move the country in a direction that conservatives have long wanted? Or are they going to find a way to basically do what some previous Republican-nominated justices have done and step away from that? It's a very big question that could have impact on a range of issues, not just the one that gets the most attention, which, of course, is abortion.
Saturday Night Live poking fun at the Biden administration in their season opener. Take a listen.
How's everybody's summer? Mine was bad. Not Cuomo bad, but definitely not Afghanistan good. Everyone keeps razzing me about that drone strike. But on the bright side, I went the entire summer without falling down the stairs once.
Well, you know what? That's a bit of a change. But one of the things that I think I want to point out, and Sam, I want to go to you on this, is that They have decided that they are now going to poke fun at this administration. I don't see how you couldn't. But there's a difference between in the tone. When Trump was president, it was almost hateful the way that they approached dealing with him and with the administration. This is kind of a little bit more of the traditional SNL. We're gonna gently rib the president and the administration. Your thoughts?
Almost hateful. First of all, it was terribly hateful, and they were dedicated to that. And this is like, okay, so they're going to poke a little bit of fun because there's nothing else for them to talk about, and they're trying to remain relevant. I'd love to go back to the masks for just a minute and comment on the fact that we've got all of these now football games and basketball games with huge crowds of people not wearing masks. And it seems like that's like a no-go zone or something for COVID. You can't hide from a virus. The idea of this whole thing was we needed to protect the healthcare workers. Remember, it was 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Now it's just turned into a bunch of overlords making scurrilous decisions to try to control us. And as Americans, we have to start fighting for our freedom again, folks.
Think about it. Fauci wants to tell you who you can see or can't see at Christmas and Thanksgiving, but 70,000 college football fans can pack a stadium. Just let it sink in. All right. I want to thank our panel today. Great stuff. Really appreciate everything you contributed. On to you, Rick.
Thanks, Tom. The U.S. is accusing China of provocative activity after well over 100 Chinese military planes have flown into Taiwan's air defense zone since Friday, with 52 more Chinese military aircrafts entering Taiwanese airspace today. Taiwan is saying it's the largest operation by Chinese military aircraft to date. The U.S. State Department is calling these actions destabilizing and is reiterating its rock-solid commitment to Taiwan. Let's bring in the author of The Coming Collapse of China, Gordon Chang. Welcome back to Wake Up America, Gordon. It's great to see you.
It's great to see you, Rick. Thank you.
Gordon, China sees Democratic Taiwan, as a breakaway province. But Taiwan sees itself as a sovereign state. With 52 more Chinese planes entering Taiwan's airspace today, what do you think the U.S. should be doing right now?
Well, I think it's good that there were words from the State Department on Sunday, rock solid commitment, as you said, that we are, quote unquote, very concerned. But we're past the point of just words. We need to show real actions to deter China because we know that deterrence is breaking down. We heard that in the middle of March from China's top 2 diplomats in Anchorage. We've heard it ever since, especially after the fall of Kabul. What we really need to be doing is to extend to Taiwan the possibility of not only a trade agreement, but also a mutual defense agreement. We need to have port calls by our destroyers in Taiwan. We need to show China that it cannot invade. To me, really, it's just a question of you've got to deter. And we're not deterring China, as we can see from these large incursions in Taiwan's air defense identification zone.
So I love the idea of taking action and not just having words. And you and I both know the State Department is always filled with big words, harsh words sometimes. What else can we do specifically? What type of action could the United States take, knowing full well that we don't want to cause a war with China? But what types of actions would you recommend, if you were in charge, that we do to make sure that China knows that Taiwan should not be messed with this way?
Well, the first thing that I would do as president would be to stand behind the podium in the White House and tell China, we will defend Taiwan. Make it very clear. If we're clear, if we move away from this policy of strategic ambiguity, which has been in place for decades, it worked for decades, but it's not working now with a militant China. So we need to be clear about our commitments. Once we do that and we sort of document these with agreements, like the trade agreement, with a mutual defense treaty, with all the types of agreements we have with other countries, then I think Taiwan will be safe. And Taiwan's absolutely critical to the defense of the United States, especially after the fall of Kabul, because countries around the world are looking to see whether the U.S. will actually stand up to China. Biden said he would, but we haven't seen very much evidence of that, especially after the fall of Kabul.
You and I both know that to be true. Let me just read you something that the State Department put out. It's a press statement. I'm going to read you a little part of it. Quote, "The United States is very concerned by the People's Republic of China's provocative military activity near Taiwan, which is destabilizing, risks miscalculations, and undermines regional peace and stability. We urge Beijing to cease its military, diplomatic, and economic pressure and coercion against Taiwan." Is this enough?
Absolutely not enough. I mean, it's one of those things which is necessary for the State Department to say, but Beijing looks at that and says, well, what is the U.S. going to do about it? In previous administrations, Beijing would look at what the White House said or what the State Department said and take it seriously. I'm not sure that they're taking it seriously now, especially because John Kerry just a week and a half ago said, look, we're going to give up a lot of important things in order to get a climate deal. We're not going to press those issues of human rights. When Beijing hears that, it knows that it can get its way with the U.S. Secretary Clinton in February 2009 said the same thing. A month after that, there were serious provocations against unarmed U.S. Navy reconnaissance vessels. Yeah. And one of those provocations actually amounted to an act of war because it was an attack on an American vessel.
Right. Gordon, we could talk all day on this. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Rick.
Up next, you'll meet a billionaire Republican donor who's joining us to talk to us exclusively about his other passion. You'll find out what it is after the break. You're watching Wake Up America, only on Newsmax.
Have you been surprised by how difficult it has been to bring the moderates and progressives together on agreement with this?
We could bring the moderates and progressives together very easy if we had 2 more votes. Yeah. 2.
And I would say to that, if the Republicans had 1 more vote, he'd be able to do nothing. So yeah, if there was all kinds of different calculations, it'd be different. But it's not. It's got to work with what they have, and what he has isn't working too well. Democrats in disarray about this massive spending bill. There's not unity there. There's all kinds of division, and certainly Biden's not bringing people together. He's been the biggest divider we've ever had in the White House.